Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's sports podcast. It's Friday, the 4th of February 2022, and even though there's been no Premier League football in the last week or so because of the winter break, some people refer to it as the international break only because there were some international games in South America. There's still loads to get through, so we'll start with the football as usual, but we'll start with the African Cup of Nations. The AFCON final is on Sunday, 7 p.m. kick-off. You can watch it on BBC Three. It's been newly reinstated to TV as BBC Three, so welcome back BBC Three. Or Sky Sports main event, and the finals between Senegal and Egypt. So you've got Mane versus Salah. Watched the second semi-final last night. Most of it was pretty dire, to be honest with you. Egypt playing like Boreham Wood, hoping that they're going to get the ball to Salah and try and hit in the break. They probably were the better team overall because of the war organised. Senegal seemed to lose. Cameroon seemed to lose their discipline a little bit as well towards the end, and the penalties. When it went to penalties, they were 0-0. Terrible game overall. Very poor quality, which has been prevalent throughout the competition, to be fair. When it comes to the penalties, Cameroon missed 3 out of the 4 they took. Egypt only took 3, scored all 3 of theirs, and Salah didn't even have to take one. So, in that respect, Egypt probably will say they come out of it comfortably. The manager Carlos Queiroz got sent off for abusing the referee, so whether he's banned for the final, I'm not sure. But yeah, it wasn't a good game. The night before, Senegal beat Burkina Faso 3-1, 2-1 at once. Well, it was 2-0 first of all. Burkina Faso got back into the game, I think 10 or 15 minutes from the end, and they come forward trying to find an equaliser. 2 of the players fell over each other. The ball broke to the other end to Mane, and he slotted it coolly over the keeper to make it 3-1. So Senegal, probably the favourites. I haven't looked at the odds, but I'm guessing they might be the favourites for the final. Not sure about the quality of the game will be like. We've got some great players that have been playing this tournament. The actual standard overall has been really, really poor. I think teams like Halifax and Boreham Wood, I've already mentioned, would probably beat some of these teams that are in it. They're very poor. I mean, you look at teams like Comoros, they did well in the tournament. They had to play a game without any goalkeepers because of the COVID rules. So they had an outfield player in goals for one of the games. Another game, I think it was Gambia against Senegal. They lost 2-0 eventually, but they played for about 30 minutes with 9 men because they had 2 men sent off. But Senegal it still took Mane to score the first goal after 63 minutes when they were down to 9 men to break the breakthrough. So yeah, the quality's not been great. So but if you're into African football, Sunday 7 o'clock, there you can watch it. Moving on there, so we'll talk about the National League now. And good result for FC Halifax Town last Saturday at Dagenham. They won by 3-1. Billy Waters scored 2 goals. First time he scored for 10 or 11 games, so hopefully his confidence will be up again now, and he'll start to score regularly. The other goal scored by Matty Warburton, so a good result there. Tough game again tomorrow at home to Bromley. Town are 3rd, Bromley are 4th. There's only, I think, 6 points between the top 7 teams at the moment. It's been tight all the way through the season. Stockport have hit a really good vein of form. They're at the top at the moment. They're going well. They've got Dover at home tomorrow, so you'd expect them to win that as well, to keep them at the top. Chesterfield are in 2nd place. They're at home to Dagenham actually tomorrow. Still no resolution to the situation with regards to the Chesterfield manager. He's still suspended, James Drew, as far as I know. So any updates on that, I'll let you know when it's available. Dagenham are actually in 9th place. They're 9 points behind Stockport, so they're still in with a shout. I think they're probably the last team that are in with a shout. Grimsby are 10th, but I think they might be a little bit too far behind now. So, but you never say never. Although Grimsby have got a big game, they're away to Notts County tomorrow at Meadow Lane, so that should be a good match as well. So they're big matches tomorrow in the National League. This weekend's also the 4th round of the FA Cup, the first live TV games tonight, and it's on ITV. It's Manchester United at Old Trafford at home to Middlesbrough. Paul Pogba's back in the squad. Whether they'll make an appearance, I'm not sure. Manchester United will expect to win that one. I would have thought they'd win that. Middlesbrough aren't a bad team, but I just think that they'd probably have too much quality from United at home. Saturday lunchtime, 12:30 game on BBC, and that's Kidderminster home to West Ham. They've played it before. Should be an interesting game to watch. You'd expect West Ham to win, but I'm sure Kidderminster will put up a fight. If the rules have gone differently in the FA Cup till now, it could have been Halifax against Leeds at this stage, but it's not, so we have to live with that. And at 8 o'clock tomorrow night, we've got Spurs against Brighton. That's on ITV4, 8 p.m. kick-off. And Sunday, we've got Liverpool against Cardiff, 12 noon on ITV. Forest against Leicester, which is probably the main game, which is Sunday, 4 p.m. on BBC. And then the final live game of the weekend in the FA Cup is Bournemouth at home to Boreham Wood, 6:30 p.m. kickoff, and that is on ITV4. So the draw wasn't great for this round. There weren't that many standout games, and I'm not sure I really want to see the Man United, Liverpool, or Bournemouth games really. Boreham Wood at home to Bournemouth would have been okay, and so likewise the other games, Cardiff and Middlesbrough, have been the home team against United or Liverpool. But they've gone with the safe options of the main TV channels by picking everybody's favourites, Man United, Liverpool, all that rubbish, So that's the way it goes sometimes, and they know it'll get the viewers, and that's what the aim is for the companies like that. So anyway, let's hope there's some good games this weekend. The Premier League does return. We've got one game actually tomorrow night, Burnley against Watford on BT Sport, 5:30 p.m. kickoff. And then we've got a full programme next midweek on BT Sport. All the games on BT Sport between Tuesday and Thursday. Chelsea have already played Brighton because they're going away now for the World Club Championship. So they've not a game. They're not playing each other. That's already been done. But there are 9 other games. There aren't any real standout games from the fixtures I've looked at. Probably the biggest ones, or the most interesting to me, are Villa against Leeds on Wednesday evening, 8 p.m. kickoff. And then you've got Liverpool versus Leicester Thursday evening, 7:45 p.m. kickoff. Like I say, on BT Sport, all those games, and we'll do a roundup of those in next Friday's podcast. Okay, moving on from football now, I'm going to talk about NFL, and we know the teams that are in the final. But before we talk about the Super Bowl, we're going to talk about Tom Brady, who has announced his retirement after 22 seasons in the NFL at the age of 44. The NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell has referred to him as one of the greatest of all time, which he obviously is. He's up there with the likes of Elway and Montana. In terms of, I'm not a massive NFL fan, I don't really follow it, but I know the top players have been over the years, and he's up there with the greats of all time. So it's sad to see him retire. I know a few people will be upset that he's retiring, but like he said, he can't commit to the level of quality of commitment and time that he wants to put in. He needs to put 100%, and if he can't operate at 100%, he doesn't want to play at all. So you can understand him doing that, and he feels he can't do that anymore, and he wants to concentrate on other things, obviously his family and stuff like that. So good luck to him in his retirement. I'm sure he'll crop up plenty of times in studios around the world and on events and on TV and things like that. So yeah, that's what's happening with him. But coming back to the Super Bowl, and we've got the Bengals. Neil's team Bengals have made it to the Super Bowl on the Sunday the 13th of February, and they will be taking on the LA Rams. I watched a bit of the Bengals match. It went to overtime. I actually flicked it over between the end of the fourth quarter and overtime, and I flicked it back on. The Bengals were celebrating with their victory kick. They scored the field goal to win the match, 27-24. The Chiefs must have thought they were cruising at 21 points to 10 at half time, but the second half of the game they didn't really do a lot. Patrick Mahomes went missing, and basically they were lucky to actually take it to overtime because they were 21-24 down going to the field goal kick, penalty kick towards the end, right at the end of the game. So they got to 24 all, and then the Bengals won 27-24 in overtime, and they're joined by the Rams, who saw off the 49ers by 20 points to 17. They were actually 10 points down in that game at the end of the third quarter, but they scored 13 unanswered points in the last quarter to come through, 20 points to 17. So we've got the Bengals against the Rams on Sunday the 13th of February. And then before that we've got the Pro Bowl game this Sunday for people who are interested in that. So you'll be able to watch it on Sky, no doubt, on Sunday evening. So then we'll move on now from the NFL. We're going to talk about Rugby Union, because the Six Nations Championship starts this weekend. 2 games tomorrow, Saturday, and then 1 on Sunday. British fans will be interested in the 2 games tomorrow. We've got the first game is Wales against Ireland. Or should I say Ireland against Wales. That's 2:15 start, and that's on ITV. And then we've got 4:45. We've got the Calcutta Cup game at Murrayfield. Scotland versus England, 4:45, and that is on BBC. Sunday's game is Italy against France, and that's on ITV, and it kicks off at 3 p.m. So for people interested in all those games, they're the times. I'm interested to see how England perform. We've obviously no Owen Farrell and no Courtney Laws, but they're still confident they're going to perform well. I've listened to Eddie Jones' interviews. So we'll see how they get on, but they're looking to perform better than last year, when I think they finished 5th, which wasn't very good at all. I think they only won 1 game, but they were very poor. And Wales obviously defending their title. They became close to doing the Grand Slam, but they couldn't quite do it with France. So good luck to all the teams involved, and we'll have an update on that next weekend. Moving from Rugby Union, we're going to talk now about Rugby League, and the championship's underway. Halifax unfortunately lost the first game at Batley. They'll be disappointed. They were 16 points up just before half time, conceded a try to Batley, which made it 6-16 at half time. Second half they didn't perform well. At one stage they had 2 men in the sin bin, They managed to hold it to 18-all for some time, but then Batley run away with it towards the end with 2 more tries and 2 goals, so we're out 30 points to 18 winners. So the Panthers will be looking to bounce back this Sunday. 3 p.m. kick-off at the Shea, home to London Broncos, which will not be an easy game. Obviously, London have been previously in the Super League and back in the Championship now. They've been starting to get back out again for the last 12 months, and it hasn't quite worked out well for them so far. Lee obviously struggled last year as well in the Super League, but London 2 seasons I think now back in the Championship. They're going to be among the teams to watch. Obviously Bradford Bulls as well. We always can't count Featherstone out or Widnes. They're the teams I always look to be up there at the top of the table, along with the Panthers of course. So let's see if the Panthers can bounce back and get 2 points on the board. It'd be a good morale booster. Moving on now from, just before I move on, should I say the Super League starts this coming week, the Thursday, and the first match of the season live on Sky is a rematch of the Grand Final from October 2021, and it's the St Helens are at home to Catalans, who they defeated in the final. So Sky have got some new changes in the studio as well. They've got John Wilkin and Jamie Jones Buchanan involved this season, so it'll be interesting to see how they get on screen. Obviously I've watched a couple of interviews with them. It seems to be got good camaraderie, so it'll be interesting to see how they see it. But Wilkins seems to feel that he's biased, but he feels that St Helens are easily the best team. They've won the last 3 Super League Grand Finals, and he thinks they're going to win it again. So we'll see what happens, won't we? Next, tennis, the Australia Open tennis. Rafa Nadal, congratulations to him on his 21st Grand Slam victory. As you know, I'm not a big fan of Nadal's, and he's had a bit of an easy run the last couple of times he's won things, but he did fight back from 2 sets down, put on a good performance to beat Daniil Medvedev. You could say he choked a little bit, but Nadal did what he had to do when he come back from 2 sets down to win 3 sets to 2. And in the women's tournament, Ashley Barty won on home soil, and she was greeted, I think, or presented with a trophy by Yvonne Corley, so that meant a lot to her as a fellow Australian Grand Slam winner. So congratulations to the winners there, and obviously the next major tournament will be the French Open, which it's usually at the end of May, start of June, so plenty of time for the situation to change with Djokovic. We won't go into the political side of it, but he may well, if he's allowed into the country, to take part, because they've got strict rules in France on vaccinations, so watch that space, as I say. Moving on to darts, started last night, Premier League darts, the first round last night, and the format changed this year, so you get more points. You play 3 matches if you get through. It's like a knockout. There's 8 players in it this year. Joe Cullen's making his debut. He's selected on Sunday after winning the Players Masters tournament on Sunday, so he's been picked, and he's in it this year. He didn't make a good start. He lost 6-2 to, I think it was Johnny Clayton who lost 2 in the first round. So it's basically a knockout every week now. It was in Cardiff last night. So they have 4 quarter-finals where 8 players play each other, 2 semi-finals and a final. The winner on the evening gets 5 points, the runner-up gets 3. I'm not sure about the scores for the rest of them. Probably going to be 2 points each for the players that lose in the semis, and probably 1 for the players that lose in the first round, but I haven't checked that last bit. But it's definitely 5 for the winner, 3 for the runner-up. And the winner was Peter Wright, who poo-pooed the celebratory mood and the atmosphere was great in Cardiff last night. But Johnny Clayton got to the final, played really well in the final. He was terrible. Peter Wright played absolutely fantastic, and he beat him 6 legs to 1 to pick up the 5 points, and he gets 10 grand as well. I think every week the winner gets 10 grand. So Wright beats Clayton. Clayton beat James Wade in the semi-final. Wade had beat Gerwyn Price in the first round by 6 legs to 3. Peter Wright beat Gary Anderson in the semi-final. Gary Anderson beat Michael van Gerwen 6-4 in the first round, and then we had Peter Wright in a rematch of the World Championship final beat Michael Smith 6 legs to 3 in the first round as well. So they're the 8 competitors now who are all in it. So next week it's Liverpool, so we'll see how it goes next week as well. I quite like the new format. It was quite entertaining. Final was a bit disappointing, but that was down to the fact that Clayton didn't perform. But yeah, that was good. The World Seniors is also taking place at the moment. I think they're showing it on ITV4, and it's sponsored by Jennings Bet. Oh, sorry, not ITV4, BT Sport actually, and it's sponsored by Jennings Bet. So if you want to look at see some of the old timers like Bob Anderson and Phil Taylor and people like that, I'm thinking a few more, Jenkins, Kevin Painter, Wayne Warren, they're all in it. So John Part as well, there's a 60-61 shot I've just read, so he might be a good shout. to win that. So some of the old regular stars there. Um, and then the last thing we're going to talk about this week, probably shouldn't be the last thing, it should have been further up the pecking order, is cricket. And England have announced this week that Ashley Giles has been sacked as Director of Cricket, and the England coach, Chris Silverwood, followed. He's been sacked as well. Andrew Strauss has come in on an interim basis to take the place of Ashley Giles, and he will be announcing an interim coach for the Test tour to West Indies, which takes place between the 8th and 28th of March. The squad will be announced in a couple of weeks as well. I think the squad actually might be announced next week as well as the coach, and then they actually depart on the 24th of February. So it'll be interesting to see what changes actually take place. We could argue that Silverwood's been a little bit unlucky, but he inherited a good team. He's not really done what with it. I mean, he's fallen his sword because of the fact we've performed so badly in the Ashes, but there are arguments that some of the players in there are actually better than the performance they've been putting in. An example that Rob Key gave last night was Ollie Pope, who's got a lot of talent, but he hasn't really shown any of it yet. And he says that some of that's got to be down to the coach, and he's got to be right, really. It's not him. Crawley's started to show some signs of improvement now, but there were some mistakes made in some of the players. You know, when Stuart Broad's been left out of the first test of the series about 3 or 4 times. Don't ask me why, because he should be in every game if he's fit enough to play. Anderson, I can understand a little bit more because of his age, but Broad's not that old. But Anderson's performed well. He's played most of the games recently, so I don't know what some of the decision making has been a bit odd. And then just before we go, the Women's Ashes. Well, Australia have retained the Women's Ashes. England had to win all 3 of the one-day international matches. They've had 1 and they lost it, so now the best they can hope for is a series draw. They were beaten by 27 runs last night. After drawing the test, they put up a heroic fight in the test. They sort of put up a heroic fight in the test match because they should have won it. They got to the point where they were chased, I think, to like 270 or 270 something. They got to 218 for 3. And then they had a collapse and lost 6 wickets, and they ended up surviving with the 1 wicket to hang on for a draw. So it was like up and down last day. But I think it was after Nat Siver was out, they basically fell apart. And Heather Knight scored 127 not out. Fantastic performance by her, but they just couldn't quite get over the line. Disappointing there. Not as bad as the men's performance, but still a little bit disappointing. And let's hope they can salvage some pride by winning these last 2 games, at least tying the series overall on points. Okay, I think that's about it this week. There's been a lot to get through there. If there's anything I've missed out or anything you want to add, just make a comment below. Also, if you want to keep in touch with each week's podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button that you'll see below the video in YouTube. Right, thanks again for watching. Really appreciate you viewing it, and I'll be back next week with some more news. So until then, it's goodbye from me.